Most people think exhaustion is about how long you slept, but research suggests it's actually about how your brain categorizes that sleep, and that changes everything. Here's the thing most people don't realize. Your sense of being rested isn't just a biological outcome. It's partly a psychological one. Scientists call this sleep expectation bias, and it reveals something genuinely strange about the way your brain processes rest. Studies have shown that people who were told they slept well performed significantly better on cognitive tests than people who slept identically but were told their sleep quality was poor. Same amount of sleep, completely different outcomes. That is not a placebo effect on the fringe of science. That's your brain actively constructing your energy level based on what it believes happened to you. And this is where things get interesting. Your brain doesn't passively receive energy in the morning, it predicts it. The moment you wake up, your mind immediately runs a kind of background assessment, scanning your memories of the previous night, checking in with your body, and generating an internal forecast. How tired am I today? The problem is that forecast is heavily influenced by psychological noise. Stress, anxiety, emotional unfinished business, all of it bleeds into that morning prediction. So you could technically get 6 solid hours and still wake up feeling wrecked, purely because your mind went to bed carrying a full emotional load. Think about it for a second. You've probably experienced this yourself. You stayed up until 2 a.m. finishing a project you were genuinely excited about, maybe redesigning something, finishing a show you loved, solving a problem that had been bugging you all week. And somehow, the next morning you felt okay, maybe even surprisingly functional. But then there are nights where you went to bed at a perfectly reasonable hour, had no real reason to be stressed, and you still woke up feeling like you'd been dragged through gravel. The hours were fine. Something else wasn't. Part of what's happening there is tied to a concept called sleep architecture. Your brain cycles through different phases of sleep: light sleep, deep slow-wave sleep, and REM sleep, roughly every 90 minutes. Deep sleep is where your body physically repairs itself. REM sleep is where your brain consolidates memory and regulates emotion. When you wake naturally at the end of one of those 90-minute cycles, you tend to feel more alert. When an alarm yanks you out of the middle of deep sleep, your brain enters a foggy state researchers call sleep inertia, and that grogginess can linger for hours. So sometimes the problem isn't the total hours, it's the timing of when you surfaced. Now here's the strange part. There's another layer to this that most sleep advice never touches: cognitive load at bedtime. When you go to bed with unresolved mental loops, unfinished conversations, tomorrow's to-do list running on repeat, an argument you keep mentally replaying, your brain doesn't actually switch off. It stays partially activated, running low-level processing on those open threads all night. You wake up technically rested, but mentally pre-exhausted, like you already used up some of your morning before it even started. Research from the field of cognitive behavioral science shows that people who offload those mental loops before sleep, through journaling, writing a simple plan for the next day, or even just deliberately naming what's bothering them, enter deeper, more consolidated sleep and report significantly higher energy on waking. Your brain, it turns out, rests better when it doesn't feel like it has homework. There's something quietly profound in all of this. The boundary between sleep and wakefulness is more psychological than most of us assume. Your brain isn't a battery that simply charges and discharges. It's an interpreter, constantly making sense of your experiences, assigning meaning to them, and shaping how you feel as a result. The quality of your rest is never just about the hours. It's about the mental environment you create around those hours. If you find the science of how the mind really works genuinely fascinating, consider subscribing. There's a lot more to explore.